I'd like to call this meeting to order. And first of all, we'd like to do the approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move it.
Dr. White moves it,
I'll second it.
and we have Ms. Ivanchek second it. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Carries 5-0. Moving on to the organizational session, election of the school board chairman. Do we have a nomination for school board chairman?
Well, Mr. Bryant, would you be willing to be in light of you being very involved in FSBA, and would you be willing to carry one more year?
I would be honored to serve one more year, just one more year.
Well, you've done an excellent job this year, and again, with your involvement with FSBA and guidance and committees that you're on, I would like to make that motion.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Carries 5-0. And I pass the gavel back over.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you. All right, so now we are to item 2.2, and this will be the election of the school board vice chair.
Well, I'd like to renominate Dr. Kelly. I think she's
Yeah.
done an awesome job in this position. And if you're willing to continue with that, Dr. Kelly, I give you this nomination.
Thank you.
It's a good team.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Congratulations, Dr. Kelly. Motion carries 5-0. So now we are to 2.3, and this is the 2022 school board meeting schedule, and you should have a draft copy there. And I need a motion to approve this.
Move it.
Dr. White makes a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Gardner. Any discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to discuss with the board about our meetings, because I've done a little research, and first of all, our board seems to meet more than some other counties that I've investigated, so I wouldn't mind a discussion on that. And also, kind of looking at that, noted that there essentially is not a week that we don't have a meeting. And I was wondering if any other board members would like to talk about that and maybe even consider an alternative plan.
I know earlier, last year, I had mentioned something about if we were to look at a flip of the workshop maybe being on a Monday and then followed by a Thursday meeting, you could still have your agenda setting meeting the next Monday, but the district staff and the board would have every other week free. So I know, having been on the district staff myself, you're pulled out for a workshop, you're pulled out for a meeting, so that would free up district staff that every other week, and the board would have every other week, except for you, Mr. Chair. You would still be meeting with Mr. Chambers and the executive team to set the agenda. But I think if we flipped, we would still cover our business. We would still potentially be meeting still more than some other districts, but we would have arranged it so that we had some time in between. So that's just something to consider, and it wouldn't reduce the number of times we met necessarily, but it would flip the way that we met.
So if I'm thinking about it right, then that would actually, as it is now, we have workshop Thursday morning, then essentially that weekend could be truncated if, because you have to be for Monday night. If you reverse it, that does leave some open
Right.
weekend.
And you're not going across the
situation.
weekend.
Right. So, Mr. Chambers, as far as your senior staff, and that affects them, would you have any opinion on that?
whatever the schedule turns out to be, we will accommodate.
Yes,
and
I know.
be happy to do so.
Oh, I just,
My position is that I think it would serve our interest and would certainly serve the public's interest to maintain our current schedule, because it provides ample opportunities for the public to approach us and discuss their concerns, particularly in light of what's happening around the country with other school boards. And I guess I would just be concerned if the perception were to be that we were reducing the opportunities for the public to respond. And I do know that many of the organizations that some of us belong to plan their calendar around our schedule, in fact, when they conduct their meetings. And should we change those meeting times and dates, we might find ourselves trying to attend meetings that we can't because we're serving here at the school board, because we've changed the schedule. But those are just my thoughts, and that would be my concern about the perception that we're reducing the opportunity for the public to approach us and discuss their concerns.
I'm not quite following that when we're having the same number of meetings. How does, help me with that, please.
Then I must have misunderstood what you said to begin with. that,
Well, that was my original observation, is that we're meeting more, but kind of following up with Dr. Kelly, instead of fewer meetings, maybe changing the way we meet.
Well, I spoke to both issues. I spoke to the first issue that you raised about
Right.
reducing the number
Okay.
of meetings.
Right.
And my concern that will,
And
it may convey a message that we don't intend.
And I think I hear you, Dr. White. What I was thinking was not reducing the number at all, still having the
That's-
same number
that's
of
the
meetings,
second
but
thing I
just
spoke to.
flipping the
Right.
Monday
Mhm.
and the Thursday. So you would still be having the same number of meetings.
Right.
You would just have your workshop on Monday, followed by your meeting on Thursday.
Right.
You would still have the same number of
Right.
days in between the workshop
understand
and the
that.
meeting.
That's-
So your staffs
Mhm.
would still have the same number of days to investigate the items and
But-
get their
but
agenda meeting
Are you
items
suggesting
together.
changing the meeting night
Yes.
to
Yeah.
Thursday?
Yes,
And-
from a
And that's
Monday
what,
to a
the second
Thursday.
point that I
And the-
made was about the organizations
Right,
that we
and I
belong
heard
to.
that. Yes, I did hear that, and I
So-
can appreciate that. But my thinking was, as is always, we serve on the school board, and my interest in this capacity is to better serve our district's needs and that of our district staff and the board and those that we serve as being elected to the school board, although I am very appreciative of the other boards and the other community entities that I also serve with.
Ms. Carter?
I'm kind of split on this. I understand Dr. White's, I do not want the public to think that we are reducing our numbers.
And that's
Having
not the
the
intent.
Monday, Thursday would be, again, the same number of days in between. And I do not want in any way to shorten our meetings, reduce our meetings. I still want to be able, the public to be here to express their concerns, questions. So I am kind of, honestly, torn between the two.
So taking off, we're not trying to change the number, but just the days we meet. Do you have any concerns with that? I'm flipping it, in other words, and having a workshop on Monday and the actual meeting on Thursday in the same week. Does that?
Probably not. Dr. Kelly, how does that work with the construction that you meet with them? Would that in any
It's fine.
way?
We meet in advance of the night meeting, so it
So
would
it
just
wouldn't
work
change
probably
that.
the same. My concerns always are for efficiencies of this district. So whether it's consolidating services into one building or moving our meetings around so that we're more efficient as we run, for now and for in the future, so.
I
So-
guess, excuse me.
No,
Chair.
go ahead, Dr. White.
The thing that, if we're saying that the way that we're doing business now is inefficient,
No, that's a stretch.
or if we're saying that we would be more efficient if we did it a different way, I guess I'd like to hear a report from the superintendent that that's the case. And certainly we couldn't do that at this meeting because he would need time to take a look at it and see if it would make a difference in terms of staff availability and those kinds of things. The second issue is that we have a calendar before us.
It's a draft, right?
If we are about attempting to modify the calendar at this table at this time, the chairman may wish to call a recess to give you ample time to make all those adjustments, or perhaps consider approving the calendar before us and then looking at some options maybe at a different date.
And that's what I was going to suggest, because to do this right now, I'd like to kind of see what it's going to look like, how it's going to play out, because I don't know. And then that's what would concern, to vote on something that does, sound like it might work, but on paper.
Right.
And talking with the district and really taking the
Holidays, all
time
those things.
to look through it. And it may work out very nicely. I mean, it has a lot of positive to it, but
Right.
I'm kind of, and that's why I'm kind of split, because I haven't seen really what it's going to lay out
Right.
and how it's going to affect us.
So my comment is, as serving as the chair the last 2 years, and I know Mr. McGinnis, Mr. Chambers, Mr. Horton, Ms. Perry have been privileged to the agenda meetings that we go to. And what is it that I always say, and this was in light of comments that were made last year by Dr. Kelly, talking about staff being here at these workshops, but what do I always say? Have your staff call us or email us ahead of time for everything that's on that agenda. So if they don't need to be up here unnecessarily. Now, if they need to be here, then that's one thing. But for a lot of the items that we have on there, I mean, we appreciate them being out here, but do they really need to be out here? And our agenda meetings are usually less than an hour, because I respect the time of the senior staff, and, we do have time to go over everything. But, so as far as what was addressed last year with the time for our employees, I think we tried to address that by having that information ahead of time for y'all, so we're not having to call staff up here. But that's just how I approached that concern last year, so.
So where do you stand on making the change?
I am right now saying that we should go ahead, like Dr. White said, go ahead and approve what we have right now, and then bring in something back that we can have, so we're not kind of rushing through this today. I mean, that's the way I would look at it.
If I have to right now make a decision, right this moment, I have to go with something that I can see, and which concerns me. I'd like to see what I'm voting for. And
Right.
again, not having the recommendation, the second calendar here. And again, that's what concerns me, would be voting on something I can't see yet.
And
Can we
right-
table this
and-
till?
And that,
You need to adopt a calendar
Yeah.
during this
Oh,
meeting.
okay.
and that's, I mean, we do have a motion and second, and we do need to vote on it. But it can be brought up at another,
Could we?
So it can
Bring it
be
back.
changed in the future?
It can.
To
Bring
go
us
back.
another
And might I-
calendar.
May I suggest, Mr.
Yes, sir.
Chairman, that should a board member wish to make that proposal, that they provide us with a copy of the proposed calendar with all the dates and
Exactly,
those
right.
kinds of things, so that we could review it.
Okay. So with that, we have any other discussion? So the motion on the floor right now is to adopt the draft that's before us. So with that, we need to vote. So all those in favor of the draft, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? And the motion carries 5-0. Okay. So we'll move to 2.4, designation of school board member to serve on the board's trustee to the Florida School Board's Insurance Trust. And I currently serve in that role. So,
I move that you continue, being that you're the chairman, and if you're willing to continue.
I am.
Second.
Second, Dr. White. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, Mr. Bryant.
Thank you. And 2.5, designation of school board member to serve as the board's representative on the Northwest Florida Manufacturers Council. And I believe who's on that one?
I'm currently doing that.
Okay.
It's been kind of quiet this past year due to COVID, and just spoke with Paul Mitchell and April Branson. We're looking at meetings, so unless somebody else would like to do it,
Oh, I think
I
that's
will
great.
be happy to continue.
Okay,
doing
I move
that.
that Ms. Gardner continue in that position.
I'll second.
Second, okay. So we have a motion and a second that Ms. Gardner will continue in that role. Any other discussion? Hear none. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries 5-0. So now we are to 2.6, designation of school board member to serve as the board's representative to the Okaloosa Public School Foundation.
Well, I've made it pretty obvious that I enjoy being in that position, and I would appreciate the board allowing me to continue in that.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second for Ms. Ivanchek to continue to serve in that role. Any discussion?
Second. I'm sorry, who was the
Who
second?
made the second?
I'll second,
Okay.
Oh, I thought, did I say Dr. Kelly?
I made the motion.
She made the motion.
So-
and I'll second.
Okay, so Ms. Gardner. And any discussion? I will just say, I too appreciate Ms. Ivanchek's
Yes, that's a big
enthusiasm.
job.
I will tell you that just seeing all the good things that are going on and hearing from Mr. Horton in our agenda meetings, the good things that are going on. So thank you for your leadership in that role.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're to 2.8, the designation.
Wait, did we vote?
Oh,
And 2.7.
so all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed?
We are not taking your chairman hat away from you, so don't
Okay,
keep.
thank
Well,
you for
talk
that.
about efficiency. I'm just ready to
No.
keep on going there. So 2.7, designation of school board member to serve as the board's representative to the construction program.
Dr. Kelly, you've done a nice job with that. Would you be willing to?
I'd be happy to.
It's the day you gave us the little cheat sheet that you had me sold on that,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, but nice job.
So Ms.
Thank
Gardner
you.
makes a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second, Ms. Vancheck. Any discussion? And I too appreciate Dr. Kelly's willingness to serve on this program, on this board, and I know I do, and I'm sure all of you do, look forward to her presentations at all of our meetings. So, and then we need to vote on that. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion carries 5-0. So 2.8, designation of school board member to serve as the board's representative to the Principal of the Year and Assistant Principal of the Year Selection Committee, and I believe Dr. White is serving right now.
I will continue if it's the board's pleasure.
Okay, so,
I'll
I make a
that
motion. Oh, go ahead.
So,
You
I'll
motion
give-
it, I'll second it.
so
Okay.
Dr. Kelly has a motion, Ms. Ivanchek have a second. Any discussion? And I too agree, Dr. White, thank you for your service to this committee that Mr. Chambers just started last year, and I think it's great that we're recognizing principals and assistant principals as well.
And with Dr. White's background and
Yes.
as an administrator, he's perfect for that position.
Well, I'll just tell you, it's hard.
Yeah.
And that's another reason we're leaving you
There
there.
are so many good ones.
Yeah.
Right.
And we only get to pick one.
That's a good problem to have, isn't
Yeah.
it?
I
Yeah.
mean,
Done an excellent job picking out the one that
Yes.
represents us each year.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, the motion carries 5-0. And finally, 2.9, designation of school board member to serve as the board's representative to the Educational Support Professional of the Year Selection Committee. And I believe Ms. Gardner is
I'm
serving on
currently
that.
doing it.
I thought that was a 2-year anyway, because Teacher of the Year is. But anyway,
Well-
I would like to nominate you to continue with that.
I
if you're open
enjoyed
to
it, and
that.
I see
I'll-
Mr. Patrick out
I'll
there.
second that.
Okay, so Ms. Ivanchek makes the motion. Dr. Kelly has a second. Any discussion? And again, Ms. Gardner, thank you for your service to this committee. I know how important it is as we're honoring our Support People of the Year across the district right now. So.
And as Dr. White said, it is difficult. Everyone on there is,
Good
it's
stuff.
Oh,
good
yeah.
stuff. And
All
I know
right.
they're already selecting, so.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries 5-0. And so we'll move to Section 3, authorization to continue using the existing bank maker signatures. And this is presented by Julie Perry, our interim chief financial officer, budgeting director, and recommended by the superintendent for approval. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move it.
Dr. Kelly makes a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second, Ms. Ivanchek. Any discussion?
I would like to know what MICR means.
So those are the numbers that are on the bottom of the check. It's basically our account and all that, so.
Oh, the
it's
codes,
yeah.
okay, all right, thank you.
So, any other discussion? Hear none? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And Section 4, this meeting's adjourned.
Woo-hoo.